The National Youth Development Agency has announced a clean audit report for the 2021-2022 financial year. This is the 8th clean report from the Auditor General from the Youth Agency. NYDA has committed itself to scale up youth development efforts to address the challenges of young people. For more on this, we are joined by Asanda Luwaca, who is the chairperson of the NYDA. Lusanda, thank you so much for joining us and good afternoon. Now, the MFMA defines fruitless and wasteful expenditure as expenditure that was made in vain and would have been avoided had reasonable care been exercised. Prior to 2018, the NYDA was characterized as an institution of wasteful and irregular expenditure over 100 million rands. Now, the NYDA has achieved zero irregular and fruitless and wasteful expenditure in the years 2021 and 22. What do you as an organization attribute this outcome to?
Thank you very much, Katlego, and good afternoon to your viewers. And thank you for having me on your show today. So what this translates, and I think for us, it's just, indicative of, what happens when, young people are given such, responsibilities, because, issues of good governance are definitely not issues that we do take lightly, because we understand that we are dealing with taxpayers' monies, and so we are in no position whatsoever to be wastefully utilizing those resources that are at our disposal.
Now, one of the key highlights of the performance achievements includes a 600 million rand in additional donor funding that was raised from public and private sectors. How far-reaching were those funds in assisting young people in South Africa, especially during a time of limited resources during the COVID-19 pandemic?
Yeah. So generally, you would know that we are currently under or operating under, fiscal consolidation. So really what this means is that the reality that we're faced with, particularly by an entity or an agency of government, is that there's no new money in the system. So how do we best utilize the little resources that we have so that, we're able to use them efficiently and effectively? So hence, one of our mandates is precisely to source out funding outside of what government would give us in the form of National Treasury funds. So what this then means is that we are able to have a far greater reach than what we would have had with the very limited resources that government or National Treasury allocates to us. So one of our core activities is to ensure that, we are able to lobby and negotiate on behalf of young people through, private partnerships. And so, issues of donor funding, we do take them quite seriously, because ultimately then they're able to increase the foothold that we already have as the NYDA.
Now, even with a stellar audit outcome, there may have been a lot of challenges along the way. I mean, as an agency, what would you describe as the major stumbling blocks that you experienced in the last year?
Yeah, no, that's definitely true. And I think one of the stumbling blocks, that I can just think of from the top of my head is that, there's the youth challenges are so complex in their nature. And so, with the very limited resources that we do have at our disposal, there's an expectation that, we are meant to resolve all socioeconomic challenges that young people face. So precisely, part of our work is that, we are continuously lobbying for an increase in funding allocation. And I think, us achieving, our 8th consecutive clean audit should be an indication that we are able to utilize the funds that we get from National Treasury in an effective and an efficient way. So when we're able to negotiate, then, we can at least have that as a baseline to say, look, the reality is that the funding or the allocation that we receive is far, far too little for many challenges that young people face. And so, we do lobby for an increase in funding so that, we can have a far greater reach than what we currently have.
No, most certainly. I mean, young people are going through a lot lately, especially with the rising costs of living, a lot of them being unemployed. And we're also seeing a lot of young people not necessarily entering into the entrepreneurship space as would be needed. What is the NYDA doing in that regard to rather convince and rather have young people enter that space so the jobs are created and poverty is alleviated?
Yeah, so at the NYDA, we offer a range of your financial and non-financial support, through our, various products and services that we make available to young people. So precisely when we look at rather specifically access to markets and the likes, we are positioned to bridge that gap in the form of, for instance, we have a zero-rated platform called sayouth.mobi. Now, this platform, links prospective employers with prospective employees. And when we speak about zero-rated, we mean that, you do not need to have data to be able to access that platform, because we are also alive to the realities of, the high data costs that currently exist in this country. But that's, just when we look at young people who are looking for work opportunities. But then we also are alive to the reality that there is a cohort of young people who might not necessarily be in need of employment, but rather financial or non-financial support to either start up their businesses or to sustain what they've already started. So in that regard, we would offer various grant funding opportunities in the form of, seed funding for youth-owned enterprises. But then we also assist young people in their businesses to be able to provide them with the various mentorship programs, as well as, your business management trainings, so that, we don't just plow or give, the necessary financial support, but we are also assisting young people with the non-financial aspect, because some young people will say, look, I don't necessarily need funding. However, I'm stuck insofar as drafting a business plan, or getting the necessary mentorship program so that I'm able to get through whatever stumbling blocks that currently exist for my youth-owned enterprise. So we offer then that range of or a holistic support to youth-owned enterprises, so that ultimately young people become employment creators, and that we do away with this mentality of young people should all be necessarily seeking employment opportunities, that they should be getting to a point where they themselves become employment creators. I mean, this is obviously one of the visions that are set out in our NDP, National Development Plan, where it sets out that by the year 2030, we should have, if I'm not mistaken, 11 million people that are in small and medium enterprises. So those are just some of the initiatives that are in place at the NYDA, so that we are able to also reach those various targets that have been set by government.
All right, thank you for that, Asanda. Congratulations on yet another clean audit. And like you said earlier on, it's a true testament to young people, because I know even the team that heads up NYDA is a team of young people. Thank you so much for that, and all the best with your work going forward. That is Asanda Luwaca, who's the first female chairperson of the NYDA board.